Welcome to Laguna Seca for round number 2 of the eFormulaSeries in iRacing League. This is the second race in a brand new league that you're witnessing here today. We are in the final moments of the practice, and we are at a very, very challenging track that it looks like. We've seen a lot of drivers having trouble in practice here. Especially in this turn you're looking at right here, the world famous corkscrew turn at the Laguna Seca Raceway. The race information that I'll show you just right here shows you that currently the ambient temperature is 22 degrees Celsius and the track temperature is 43 degrees Celsius, and that is very, very high, and that is going to hinder the drivers. Finding grip on a hot track like that is going to be extremely difficult. So the relative humidity is 55%. It's partly cloudy. There is barely any wind to speak of. Right now we are in the final stages of the practice session, and here in a few minutes we'll be going into the qualifying session. But before we do that, let's introduce to you the Laguna Seca Raceway.
WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, previously known as Mazda Raceway, is a paved road racing track in Central California. It is used for both auto racing and motorcycle racing. It was built in 1957 near Monterey, California. The name Laguna Seca is Spanish for dry lagoon. The area where the track now lies was once a lake, and the course was built around the dry lake bed. After the course was reconfigured, 2 artificial ponds were added. The racetrack is 2.238 miles or 3.602 kilometers long, with a 180 feet or 55 meters elevation change. Its 11 turns are highlighted by the circuit's signature turn, the downhill plunging, world-famous corkscrew. The elevation change in this left-right combination is about equal to jumping off a 3-story building. A variety of racing, exhibition, and entertainment events are held at the raceway, ranging from Indy cars, vintage cars, sports car racing, to music festivals. With a heritage of hosting world-famous events, Laguna Seca Raceway remains a major challenge for many racing drivers in all kinds of racing classes. The second round of the eFormulaSeries Formula Renault 3.5 Championship is hosted at this historic, world-famous racing facility. Welcome to WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway.
Oh, hi. What's your name?
My name is Marcia.
Hi, Marcia. I almost erased you. I was gonna draw a car.
I love cars.
You do? But you're a...
A girl? Whoever made the rule that girls can't like cars?
Well, I don't know.
I want to be a racing driver.
A racing driver? Well, we can make that happen.
Blonde Bullet. A comic book about a young woman trying to get started in racing. Now available on Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
And you're back here with me at Laguna Seca, where the qualifying session for the second round in the EFS Championship has just begun. 3 minutes into qualifying, we are currently watching Fabio Do Carmo with a 1:11.35 on the provisional pole position here. So last race was 3 weeks ago at Barber Motorsports Park. And the results of that race are pretty much reflected on your screen here in the driver standings in the championship. It was Manuel Domingo with a pretty dominant win in Barber Motorsports, followed by Javier Alvarez and Fabio Do Carmo. And you can find your favorite racing driver here in the standings. The winner gets 20 points. The second place gets 16 points. The third place 14. Then 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And everybody that was there will get 1 point for attending in this series. So, currently, Fabio Do Carmo on the provisional pole position. He just improved his time with a 1:11.07. And let's see if we can find somebody that we can run along with. And you're looking at Fabio Do Carmo here coming towards the corkscrew turn. Slightly to the left on the brakes, and then it's a hard left, a hard right, and you're dropping down about 2 stories in elevation here. So it's a roller coaster right there through the corkscrew turn. Then he's approaching the final turn here, and we'll stick with him for a little bit. This is the final turn that leads him back onto the main straightaway. Oh, and there you see exactly what the problem is on a hot track. If you hit the gas too quickly, you are in trouble. Let's ride here with Seltmari Zabolks. He is coming onto the main straightaway, currently in 5th position. Coming over the line here and going into... Oh, he's done with his run here. Let's ride along with Danny Hoekstrad here, currently in 7th position with a 1:11.88. And he's going towards the bridge here. Then it's going to be a fast left-hander, 4th gear, slightly off the gas. You don't want to hit that sausage on the inside there. Going towards the corkscrew now, hard on the brakes, and once again we're going through the corkscrew, dropping down, probably about 40 feet downwards. Then we're gonna remain downhill towards the last few turns. A right-hander on the left side, you see the pit lane entrance, and then it's a left turn that brings Danny back onto the main straightaway. Let's see what kind of a time he is posting here. He's currently in 10th. And it looks like he posted his quickest lap so far, a 1:11.81. Into the first turn once again. And then on the gas, 2 gears up, 1 gear down to the right. The curbs are fairly forgiving on this track. As long as you don't hit those red sausages, those are a little bit higher than the regular curbs, and they will throw you off balance and even are capable of breaking the front wing on the car. And once again, going towards the bridge. A fast left-hander here, down 1 gear, and Danny goes through there pretty good. And once again, up to the corkscrew. The Laguna Seca track, as you heard, is located in Southern California, so the temperature is always an issue here. It's a very dry land. It used to be a lake bed, and as you can tell, the runoff areas around this track are pretty much just a sand trap, and it's not very deep sand, so once you get off track, you lose all grip, and you pretty much run the risk of spinning the car. So let's take a check back here up front in the qualifying. It's Paul Ilbrink with a 110.77. Pretty good time for a hot track like that. Then in second position, it's Javier Alvarez, our one of the top 3 finishers of last race. And currently we see Lubomir Moric in the third position. And he's shown as out, so I'm not sure if he's still here or not. There he's going. He's coming out onto the track now. Manuel Domingo taking it to the pits. Manuel Domingo was last race winner in Barber Motorsports, currently shown in 4th position. We have some new faces. Cedric Beal, he was registered for the entire championship, couldn't make it last race, unfortunately. So Cedric Beal is back in business with the eFormulaSeries. Fabio Do Carmo, we saw him at the front battling last time, and he is currently shown in 6th position. And it looks like Fabio is currently the only driver, the first driver that is not under the 111 mark. He's getting pretty close. Bruno Canovas from Brazil is shown in 7th position. Also a new teammate to this next guy, Reinaldo Augusto. So both team drivers here are working together right now. Danny Hoekstra shown in the pits. And then it's Zabolts in the 10th position in the 22 car. It's Luke Groom in the 11th position. And I believe his teammate is also here. Patrick Latouvette in 12th position. Dave Guild in 13th. His teammate unfortunately isn't here. Samuel Augsburger, another new face in the series. And he is currently shown in 14th position. Let's see if we can find some of these other guys. James Mallow, I saw him in practice, but he's currently not running. And in 18th position, we have Kevin Justino, and Gregoire Richet is shown in the 19th position. So we have a few more drivers than we did the first time. We had 15 drivers in the first race. We have 19 drivers currently trying to qualify for this race. 10 minutes into the 15-minute session, it's open qualifying for this series, which means they are running on the track together. They get 15 minutes of allocated time, and within that time, their best lap counts. So it's still Do Carmo. It's Do Carmo on the pole, provisional pole now. It looks like Paul Ilbrink has been pushed back to 3rd position, and it's Javier Alvarez that has taken that 2nd position. Cedric Beal now in 4th, Lubomir Moric is in 5th, Manuel Domingo in 6th, and let's take a look here. Ronaldo Augusto, he is off the track. Let's see if there's something wrong here. It looks like that car is having a connection issue. Hope he gets that sorted out before we get going. Luke Groom taken to the track here. Atish Debising is also on track. He is currently shown in 16th position with a 113.55. And it looked like we were on delay there, trying to figure out what was wrong with Augusto. Back live here, this is Atish Debising on a flying lap. Kevin Justino currently in 18th position with a 116.7. And it's Gregoire Richet in the 19th spot currently. So let's bring her back up to the front here. This is Fabio Do Carmo. Cedric Beal coming out to try. Oh, he pushed himself up into the 2nd position here in qualifying now with a 110.58 lap time. This pit lane exit is also a little bit tricky because it's on the inside of that first hairpin corner, so it's even tighter than the hairpin on the track. And I can guarantee you there's some guys that misjudged that when they were coming out of the pits. So as you know from last time, hopefully the drivers are on a 50% of fuel capacity, which means that pretty much everybody is going to have to make a fuel stop for this race. It's impossible to make this race on one fuel stint. So we're expecting to see these fuel stops, probably about 2/3 into the race. The race is going to be 45 laps long, which would probably take us about 50 to 55 minutes. And they can use unlimited tires, and there are no fast repairs. iRacing sometimes offers people the fast repairs, which means that the first time they go into pits, the car gets instantly repaired to brand new condition. In this series, we do not use the fast repairs, so all the damage that is going to happen to you is going to stay with you. You can try to get stuff repaired in the pits, but obviously iRacing will calculate time for all repairs that are needed. So there's a few challenges in this race here. Let's take a look quickly now. Paul Ilbrink has brought it back onto the provisional pole with a 110.32, and once again, for the track temperatures that we're dealing with, that is a very good and very fast time. Fabio Do Carmo is now in second and Cedric Biel in third. So the drivers have several challenges to deal with. First of all, that hot track is definitely not helping. Second of all, the first turn, that hairpin that we saw there earlier, that is a pretty tight turn if you're coming at it with a whole group of cars right after the start with 19 drivers all trying to do their best. So we are expecting to see some stuff happening right there in lap 1. Then, during lap 1, once they make it through that first turn, we have a very challenging fast turn that leads us towards the corkscrew. That's the turn under the bridge that we saw earlier, and that is definitely a turn that can only be run in single file. If you're side by side in that turn, then I can guarantee you that you're going to either have to slow down and let the other guy go past you, or you're going to be in trouble. So let's quickly find another driver to follow here. This is Patrick Letouvet, currently shown in 10th position. And then obviously, and there you once again, you see the problem of a very hot track. There's no traction on the rear wheels. When you get the power down, it's so easy to get it wrong. And I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, these drivers are very, very experienced with these cars, and they all have said during practice sessions that this track is very, very challenging for them at this point. So once again, back to the challenges of this track. After that fast left-hander leading up to the corkscrew, then obviously the corkscrew itself it's an extremely tricky turn. You see Guyato coming out of that turn. Let's bring that back. He's coming up to that fast left-hander here. That inside curb is a little bumpy, and then he's coming up to the corkscrew. The corkscrew braking point is right there on top of that crest, which makes the car very light under braking. Then the left turn is very slippery, and often one wheel comes off the ground. It's that tight, and that second part of the corkscrew there that you saw going right, that's where you're dropping down like 40 feet or so, which makes the car very light, and it's very difficult to time it right when you can get back on the gas. So all the drivers are going to be looking at the same problems here. The qualifying has officially expired. The guys that are on their final laps get to finish their final laps, and then we will determine the grid and show it to you. And it looks like Giustino is done for the qualifying session. It looks like Vincent Guyato is the final driving car that still has a lap to finish. Coming up to that famous corkscrew now. Turning in left, turning in right, dropping down, and then back onto the downhill part here, the final part of the track. And past this turn here, you will see, we lost him there. Past that final turn there, you will see the entry to the pit lane. All right, so we're getting ready to grid up here for the second race of the season. In the eFormula Series, on pole position, we have the Dutchman Paul Ilbrink with Radicals Online. Alongside him will be Fabio Do Carmo. And on the third spot, second row, it'll be Javier Alvarez with alongside him Cedric Bill. Then it's going to be the third row with Lubomir Moric and Manuel Domingo, last time's winner. The fourth row will be Bruno Canovas and Reinaldo Augusta, teammates, I believe. Then on the fifth row, it'll be the Dutchman Danny Hoekstra and Patrick Letouvet on the outside. And then on the sixth row, it is Luke Groom and Sasmari Zabolix. Then we see the seventh row, Samuel Augsburger, and alongside him is Dave Guild from England. And then it's the eighth row with James Mallow and Atish Dabising from New Zealand, and the ninth row with Kevin Justino and Vincent Guyotot. And on the final row by himself it's Gregoire Richet. So let's see, the cars should be gridding up currently. There we see them. And let me correct something here real quickly for you. And let's take a look here. We're looking at the second place driver, Fabio Do Carmo. You see a staggered grid. So they're not really alongside each other, but that's just kind of the way it was in history in recent years. So that's why we talk about rows, but they're basically one by one staggered on the start. Paul Ilbrink has taken to the pole position, and we're going to be seeing some red lights appearing in our picture pretty soon. And when the red lights go out, that means the race is on. There you see the lights. And they're going to be coming on all five, and as soon as they go out, we're racing. It's Paul Ilbrink in the lead towards the first turn. It looks like Fabio Do Carmo has got a pretty good start. I'm sorry, Alvarez has got a pretty good start. Ooh, and you see already drivers, they're looking to be pretty careful here. And so far, it looks like everybody's getting through that first turn pretty good. I don't see any incidents in the background. It is most of the guys coming through here. Let's check the back end of the field. Yes, everybody is still looking. Oh, no, not everybody. It looks like Manuel Domingo has either decided to start from the pits or he's had an issue. Let's see if we can bring that back. No, he's decided to start from the pits, it looked like. There may have been a connection issue with his gridding up there. Meanwhile, it's Paul Ilbrink going towards the corkscrew for the first time. In second position, it's Javier Alvarez, and in third, it's Fabio Do Carmo. Cedric Biel currently shown in the fourth position, and behind him, it's Lubomir Moric, Reinaldo Augusto, his teammate Canovas. Then it's Samuel Augsburger and Patrick Letouvet in ninth. Luke Groom is in 10th. It's James Mallow in 11th. Dave Guild is in 12th. Let's bring her back up front here. It's Paul Ilbrink finishing the first lap, and he's starting lap 2 in the lead here, and he's got a good jump on Alvarez and Do Carmo. It looks like Do Carmo is trying something. He can't get it done, but he's on the inside in this hairpin turn, and it looks like he's nosing ahead of Do Carmo. So Fabio Do Carmo is now in second position. I'm sorry, he was nosing ahead of his teammate Alvarez. So Do Carmo is now in second position. Alvarez is in third. Cedric Biel shown in fourth, and he's got Lubomir Moric right there on his tail. And Bruno Canovas is now shown in sixth. Samuel Augsburger seventh. Augusto is eighth. And let's find some other guys. Danny Hoekstra looks like he's in the pit, and he had an issue. He's coming out of the pit here. Let's see if we can figure out what happened to him. If we bring this back really quickly, he's been off track, and I'm kind of guessing something happened to him before that. Can't bring it back, it's too far back. So Danny Hoekstra unfortunately had an off, and he is shown in the 19th position currently. Paul Ilbrink still in the lead. He is now 2.5 seconds clear of Fabio Do Carmo coming at you right here. And it's Javier Alvarez right behind him, and then Cedric Biel and Lubomir Moric right behind each other, coming through the hairpin. Looks like Canovas is hanging with these guys fairly good. Samuel Augsburger is a little bit further back, a couple of car lengths in between there. It's Reinaldo Augusto in 8th. And let's take a quick check here on Dave Guild. Dave Guild is right behind James Mallow. He's currently shown in 12th position. And Sasmari Sabolch Zabolks, I should say, is in 13th. Atish Nabising, you're back here in the 16th position, and the 17 of Manuel Domingo is shown in 17, and it looks like Danny Hoekstra is in the pits once again, unfortunately, and the same is true for Kevin Justino. They may have touched once again. We can try to find out what happened, but no, that's too far back, unfortunately. All right, let's bring her back up here again. It's Paul Ilbrink showing some muscle here with a 1:12.05. He's currently the fastest driver on the track in the Radicals car. Fabio Do Carmo coming after him in the second spot into the hairpin now. And right behind him, it's Javier Alvarez. Cedric Bill in 4th position. Lubomir Moric in 5th. And Bruno Canovas in 5th. Or 6th, I'm sorry, and then it's Samuel Augsburger. Looks like he's gaining back a little bit on Canovas there. Still a little bit of a gap. Reinaldo Augusto is right behind him, little bit less than a second. So Fabio Do Carmo defending his 2nd position from Alvarez. Cedric Biel and Lubomir Moric defending their positions from each other. Cedric Biel in 4th, coming towards the hairpin here. Moric is following him, about 4/10 of a second in between there. It's still early in the race, so he might be just waiting and seeing what the correct position would be and looking for that opportunity. Maybe here in the final turn. No, he's thinking the better of it, and he changes his mind, and then Cedric Bill runs a little wide, and he still gets to get on his inside. Lubomir Moric now going for that 4th position, and it looks like he's nosing ahead of Cedric Biel. Cedric was a little bit careful there. He was a little bit worried that Moric was already coming in that last turn. He didn't, but Bill was already decided to stay high and kind of gave it away to Lubomir Moric there. So Bill now in 5th, and it's Canovas in 6th, and it looks like Bruno Canovas, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He's in 6th position now, catching up to Cedric Biel. It looks like Moric is walking away from Cedric Biel, so he was actually being held up a little bit there. All right, let's go back and see in the back of the pack here. It's Danny Hoekstra. He is now showing a lap behind the leaders, unfortunately. But he's still running. He's in 18th position. He may have had some issues on the start there. And Paul Ilbrink still well out in the lead. He now has no less than 5 seconds on Javier Alvarez in the 2nd spot. So it looks like Paul Ilbrink is walking away with this currently. But like I said, it's still early and we still have a ways to go. Do Carmo and Alvarez have spread out with about a second and a half between them there. And it looks like Moric is gaining on Do Carmo and closing in on that lead group. Cedric Biel has a little bit more trouble to stay with these guys, and he has now got Bruno Canovas right here behind him, and it looks like there might be something developing here. And then right behind there, it's Augsburger, and that's the teammate to Cedric Biel, and then Augusto, and he's the teammate to Canovas. So 2 teams there in 5th and 6th, and 7th and 8th. And a little bit further back here, it's Patrick Letouvet, it's Luke Groom, James Mallow, and Dave Guild. That's your top 12 drivers right there. So let's take a look here. That's Moric, that's closing in on Alvarez. Let's take a look at Cedric Biel here. He has got Canovas behind him, fairly close, a group of 3 drivers here. Biel, Canovas, Augsburger, and Augusto is hanging in there as well. Not close enough for anything to make a difference here. It looks like Augsburger seems to be catching up to Canovas there a little bit. And obviously on the straightaways, they stretch out, and then under braking for that first turn, they'll come back together a little bit. And it looks like Vincent Guiteau had an incident here. Yes, indeed. It looks like Vincent Guiteau, who was in 4th position, he is having a trouble with that fast turn. He hits that sausage there on the inside. That's one thing you really want to stay away from. And once again, let's show you that once again. When you hit that sausage, you misjudge the turn, you are skyrocketing out, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So he looks like he's shown in the pits currently. He might be able to get that car fixed, and unfortunately we see no movement there, so iRacing calculates a toll for the time that when he hits the escape button from his crash site to the pit lane. There will be a toll time calculated by the simulation. So in 18th position, currently still shown, is Danny Hoekstra. He's running behind there. Let's bring her back up to Paul Ilbrink, 5.7 seconds ahead of Javier Alvarez. There is the difference. And Alvarez now is about a second and a half ahead of Do Carmo. Moritz is also about a second and a half behind that. And then it's Cedric Biel. And Cedric Biel has a little bit more trouble shaking the guys behind him. It's Bruno Canovas that's hanging on by about 6/10 of a second. Then it's Samuel Augsburger, a little bit more distance between him and Canovas. Then it's Reinaldo Augusto, and he's about 7/10 of a second behind Augsburger. Then in the 9th position, it's Patrick Letouvet, a little bit by himself here. Luke Groom is about a second and a half behind him. Then it's James Mallow, Dave Guild, Sabogs, Domingo, currently shown in 14th position. And it looks like our winner from the first race, Manuel Domingo, is struggling a little bit. I'm not sure if he took the start on the grid or from the pit lane, and there may have been a technical issue for him to try to get started on this race. Let's bring her back up front here. Lubomir Moric in 4th position. And let's go a bit further back to Cedric Biel here. Cedric has Bruno Canovas, and it looks to me like Bruno Canovas is trying to start and put some pressure on Cedric Biel here for that 5th position. And then it's Augsburger and Augusta hanging with him as well. It's not easy to pass around here, especially on a hot track like this. Outbraking somebody is going to be extremely challenging. It looks like Kevin Justino is shown as having left the race. Unfortunate for him in the 89 car. And Vincent Guyuto is still in the pit lane, shown now in 18th position. Meanwhile, you're looking at Bill and Canovas coming out of the corkscrew turn here. And it looks like Canovas is having trouble really staying with Cedric Biel. Let's take a look here and ride along with Bruno really quickly. Last turn, we're going on to the main straightaway here, and we're going to start lap 10. And he is looking at the rear end of Cedric Biel there. You see the straight is not completely straight. Coming down into the first turn, they call it the Mario Andretti hairpin here. It's really basically a double apex turn. And then we're going to the right, going underneath the Firestone Bridge. A fairly fast turn to the right here. Once again, be careful not to hit those sausages. And it looks like Canovas cannot really close in on Cedric Biel at this point. Let's stay with him here under the bridge. Then we're going to see that fast left-hander that leads us towards the corkscrew. And it looks like the distance is staying about the same. It's a little bit under a second, hard on the brakes. Here we are going into the corkscrew. Difficult turn, very, very easy to get it wrong. And that is part of a lap there with Bruno Canovas in 6th position currently. Let's bring her back up here to Paul Ilbrink quickly. He is still in the lead, and he is over 7 seconds ahead now of Javier Alvarez, who is in 2nd position. He is about 2.2 seconds ahead of Lubomir Moric. Then it's Fabio Do Carmo, Cedric Biel, and Bruno Canovas, Samuel Augsburger, Reinaldo Augusto seems to be closing in on Augsburger now. Let's keep an eye on these 4 guys here. This is pretty much the closest thing we have going on. And let's quickly check on Dave Guild. He is shown only 8/10 of a seconds behind James Mallow. And that's the battle for 11th position. And let's check here once again with Canovas, Augsburger, and Augusto. Looks like Augusto is getting close in there. Let's bring up the statistics here. Augsburger is only 0.2 ahead of Augusto. Letouvet is about 6 seconds behind. coming towards the corkscrew here, not close enough to make anything happen. And let's see if Augusto can close in on Augsburger here on that final turn. That final turn sometimes is a place where you can outbrake your opponent, and it does look like he closes in, but that's just the harmonica effect of braking and accelerating. He's not close enough to make anything happen currently. And it looks like we have Gregoire Richet off track here. Let's see if we can find out what happened. Ooh, he's slowly there. Oh, it's happened before. He just kind of missed his turn there completely. Backs it up. He nosed it into that tire wall very slowly. Let's see if we can bring back and see what happens here to him. And this is at the Mario Andretti hairpin. And it looks like he just missed his braking point and couldn't get the car to rotate in, and has to back it up and try again. He is rolling, although very slow. He might be going into the pits. Looks like he's still running though, but he's not up to speed. Let's bring her back here to Cedric Bill. And behind him, it's Augsburger, and it does look like Augusto is planning on trying something if he can get close enough. He's putting pressure on Samuel Augsburger for sure. Currently in lap 13 of 45, so we're almost 1/3 on the way here in Laguna Seca, California. And it looked like, Guyoto's still in the pits there. Gregoire Richet, he is still running. He's coming back at that hairpin now, and it looks like he's making it work this time. So back up to Augusto, and it looks like Augusto, he's hanging with Augsburger fairly good, but he's just not close enough to make anything happen. So pit stop strategy might become a factor here. I'm not exactly sure how many laps they can do on a fuel tank, but it's probably going to be somewhere around 30 to 35. So drivers can opt to take that pit stop early and be on fresher tires a little bit earlier than others. And then there's also drivers that will run their fuel almost completely dry and then spend less time in the pits. Most drivers will take tires in that pit stop, because the tires and the fuel basically take about the same amount of time to be serviced. So there's really no point in not taking tires unless you are not comfortable with going back out on cold tires. And with a hot track like today, that could be an issue for these guys. Let's check back here on Gregoire Richet. He's in trouble. He's definitely in trouble. He's making way for the faster cars. He's not up to speed. He's fighting his car currently. Danny Hoekstra still running. He is in 16th position. And Manuel Domingo, let's check back on him. He's running in 9th. He's running good lap times. He's faster than the guys in front of him. His last lap time was a little bit slower, so he may have had an issue getting around Gregoire Richet. And let's go back to Augusto. Augusto seems to be fairly close behind Augsburger now. And they're headed towards the corkscrew once again. Hard on the brakes, left turn, going down into the right turn. Ooh, and it looks like Augusto is picking up a little bit of dirt on that right side there. You don't want to go off the track too far there, because iRacing will give you a slowdown penalty pretty quickly. If they're on all the tracks that iRacing has brought us, if you go off track too far to their liking and it looks like you might be gaining from that, the iRacing calculates a slowdown penalty that basically neutralizes that gain instantly, and you have to take that penalty right there. You get less than a lap time to take that penalty. So let's check in here with Paul Ilbrink, who is currently running the fastest lap of the race with a 1:10.36, and only 15 laps into the race with probably more than half a tank of fuel. That is a blazingly fast lap. Paul Ilbrink is absolutely walking away with this race here currently. He is over 10 seconds ahead of Javier Alvarez. He is definitely currently in a class of his own. So good job for Paul Ilbrink. Very, very fast, very, very consistent, and it looks like he's currently the man to beat at this point. So let's check on the guy in pursuit. That's Javier Alvarez. As I said, he's pretty much 10 seconds behind here, doing a very good job in the second position with the number 7 car. Then it's Fabio Do Carmo in the third position. He's about 4.5 seconds behind Alvarez. Then it's Lubomir Moric. He is 4 seconds behind Do Carmo. 2 seconds behind Moric, it's Cedric Bill in the number 5 car. And then we get a group of 4 drivers that's a little bit closer together. It's Bill, Canovas, Augsburger, and Augusto. Augusto is the final car in that group, and it looks like Augsburger is having a little bit more trouble keeping up with Canovas than Augusto is having to keep up with him. So there's about a 2.5 second gap now between the 6th and 7th position car, Leo. Let's bring that back up for you. Canovas a little bit over 2 seconds ahead of Augsburger, and Augusto is right on Augsburger's tail here. The battle for 6th position. And we've had Luke Groom in the pits here. Not sure what happened to him, but maybe he decided to take that fuel early. And from the picture on the bottom of your screen there, it looks like he's having fun doing this stuff. He is currently shown in 14th position. So back up here to Augsburger and Augusto, and nothing has changed. And behind him now, it is Patrick Letouvet. He is about close to 10 seconds behind Augusto. He's got Sathmari Salbolks to worry about in 10th position. It's James Mallow behind them, about 2.2 seconds behind them. Then it's Manuel Domingo, and Manuel is still faster than the cars in front of him, but he's not close enough yet to make anything happen. So if we got a chance, we might want to ask him what happened on the start there. Dave Guild is shown in 13th. Running a little bit less fast as Manuel Domingo. Luke Groom has taken to the pits and he's running again. He pitted on lap 15, and then Danny Hoekstra is still running after his pit stops on lap 1 and 2. He's currently shown in 15th position, but he's a lap down on the leaders. Back up front, over 11 seconds out of Alvarez now, Paul Ilbrink, looking extremely solid. His last lap was a little bit slower, but obviously he's got to deal with traffic as well. And he looks very strong here in the lead, and still currently running almost 12 seconds ahead of Javier Alvarez under the bridge now. Then it's Fabio Do Carmo in the 3rd spot. Lubomir Moric in the 4th spot. Cedric Biel in 5th. Then it's Bruno Canova still hanging with Cedric Biel. Samuel Augsburger is dropped down a little bit further, and it's Ronaldo Augusto that is in the 8th position behind him. And that's currently pretty much, let's see here. We have Sathmari Zabolks seems to be closing in on Patrick Letouvet here. That is the battle for 9th and 10th position. And let's bring up that box for you. As you can see, it looks like it's 0.7, 0.8, and now it's growing a little bit. Did Zabolks make a mistake here? Yeah, it looks like he had a little issue coming off of that turn earlier. Because now suddenly this is growing rapidly to almost 2 seconds. So either Letouvet refound his mojo, or Zabolks has had a little issue and having trouble keeping up here. Let's bring her back up to Augsburger, because Augusto is getting close. Oh, and a car in front there spinning. Let's see if we can find out who that is. That is Gregoire Richette. Let's bring that back for you. Gregoire Richette here, he's a lap down from the leaders. He spins it around in the first turn, and he's trying to recover. And the good thing that he is doing here is he's standing still as he watches other people approach. And then once the other guys are gone, he starts to move again. Unfortunately, Augusto was caught out by that a little bit. But I can't say anything else negative about what Richette did there. He saw the other guys coming and he hit the brake right away, trying to avoid running in front of them. But unfortunately for Reinaldo Augusto, it didn't work out. He chose the outside line. He had to go through the dirt, and he's lost about 6.5 seconds now on his attempt to fight Augsburger for that 7th position. So that's unfortunate for him. And up here in 5th position, it's Cedric Bill, and it looks like Bruno Canovas has found some new wind here, and he's trying to catch up with Bill. He's now under a second behind, still not close enough to make anything happen, but yeah, and something has happened, ladies and gentlemen, to Paul Ilbrink. There may have been an issue here because his advantage is shrunk and he ran a last lap of 121.6. Let's see if we can find out what happened to him. Yes, indeed. And guess where it was? In the corkscrew. He overshoots it. He gets 2 wheels on the curb on the inside there, and he has trouble getting it nosed back in the right direction. Fortunately for him, his advantage was big enough that he didn't lose the lead, but he lost a significant portion of that huge advantage that he had. And he's picked himself right back up, though, because his lap after the incident was a 110.67. His best lap is 110.36. So one little mistake, he did not lose the lead, and he's building that lead back up once again. And Alvarez is obviously sitting back here in 2nd position and hoping, okay, we need some more of that, because it's bringing him closer for sure. And I'm sure that Fabio Do Carmo in 3rd position has seen it as well. The guys have a relative screen in their car. They can see the distance between them and the 2 cars in front, 2 cars behind him. So Fabio Do Carmo undoubtedly knows that an issue has happened to Paul Ilbrink. 4th position now, Lubo Moric. And he is shown 5.5 seconds behind Do Carmo. Then it's Cedric Bill, almost 5 seconds behind Moric. Canovas is still with him. Augsburger now by himself, and it looks like Augusto is surely reeling him in a little bit. His last lap was a half a second quicker. Oh, and now Augusto is having the same problem in that corkscrew. Let's take a look back here. It's so easy to get caught out. He's a little bit wide on the entry of the first part, and he misses the apex completely on that second part. Very unfortunate for Augusto. He's probably trying very, very hard to close that gap on Augsburger and gets caught out by his own enthusiasm. Let's bring back here Manuel Domingo. Manuel has passed Dave Guild, and he is definitely a lot faster than Augusto since Augusto's little mistake. So Manuel Domingo is going to challenge Augusto for that 9th position, or 8th position I should say, and he definitely, 9th position, I'm sorry, and he definitely picks that up going into turn 1. I'm sorry, that was not Augusto, that was Sathmari Sabolks, and his next victim, Augusto, is 9 seconds ahead of him, so Manuel Domingo still has his work cut out for him, but it looks like he's running very steadily, very strong in the lower 111 lap times. His last lap was a 111.44, and his best lap so far is a 111.10. So let's check back up here with Ilbrink. Ilbrink's last lap seemed to be a little bit slower. He may have had an issue with back markers. He is in that position now where he's finding people in front of him that are slower. It looks like, let me see here. Hoekstra is the last running driver currently, and he's in the 15th spot. And I'm pretty sure he's been lapped by almost everybody except for Patrick Letouvet. So let's check back here with Ilbrink coming up on a slower car there. Let's see if we can figure out who that is. That looks like James Mallow is in front of the leader there. And Ilbrink is currently about 2 seconds ahead of Javier Alvarez. Looks like James Mallow, that was about to be lapped. He's going into the pits for tires. We're talking lap 23, so we're getting into the halfway mark here, and that is a point where you can start seeing drivers come in for the pits, for the tires, and for fuel. So James Mallow currently in that pit, and it looks like he's getting tires as well. Car drops down, and he gets back out. Very slow speed limit here. I believe it's only 35 miles an hour, which when you're racing these kinds of cars is really frustratingly slow. And let's take a look at Alvarez now. He is less than 3 seconds behind Ilbrink, and it looked like Ilbrink had a not so good last lap there with a 112.3, and Alvarez seems to be gaining on him a little bit. And there might be an issue with Ilbrink. Maybe his tires are getting bad, and he's getting ready to change them and get serviced. And he keeps it around 3 seconds now. So there we have Ilbrink. He's not going into the pits just yet. It may have just been the issue of passing back markers. And obviously all the drivers will have that situation, so that evens out pretty good in the end. And then close to 3 seconds behind Alvarez, it's Fabio Do Carmo. He's running in third. Then it's 5.5 seconds further down before we find Lubomir Moric. And then it's Cedric Biel in fifth. He's about 7.5 seconds behind Moric. It's Bruno Canovas that has lost some ground to Cedric Biel. It is close to 2.5 seconds now. Samuel Augsburger, and he is running by himself there. The car that you're seeing in front of him is a back marker that looks to be, let me see here, that looks to be Le Touvet. So he's going to put a lap on Le Touvet. And then it's Augusto, and he's almost 10 seconds behind Augsburger now, and I'm kind of guessing he's given up his pursuit to try and gain on Augsburger, having made that mistake in the corkscrew. It's Manuel Domingo now chasing after Augusto, and it looks like the lap times of Domingo and Augusto are fairly similar, so he's not really gaining very rapidly, if anything at all. And then it's Sathmari Zabolks, and he's in 10th currently, and it looks like he's having a little bit of trouble. His lap times have not come below 112.2, and his last lap time was a 112.5. And it looks like Ilbrink has gone to the pits. Yes, indeed, Ilbrink has been in for fuel and tires, and he's coming back out currently in the 5th position. He's rejoining the race here. Once again, that pit lane exit here is very, very tight, and he's coming out in 5th right in front of Samuel Augsburger. And you can see Sam here in the background with Le Touvet right behind him. Le Touvet has been lapped. So it's Javier Alvarez now picking up the lead here in Laguna Seca. And of course, he still will have to pit. And let's see, Lubomir Moric also went into the pit on the same lap there. He is currently shown in 8th position, so he dropped back a little bit, had Augsburger and Augusto going by him. Let's check out Javier Alvarez here. He's currently leading the race, and he is about 2.5 seconds ahead of Fabio Do Carmo. There we have Fabio coming down the main straightaway into the first turn here, the Mario Andretti hairpin. And then a little bit further back, we see Cedric Biel. He's coming down the main straight now. He's 13 seconds behind Do Carmo. And then we have Canovas, and it looks like that distance between Bill and Canovas has grown a little bit. Ilbrink now still shown in 5th position, but once again, he has already pitted for fuel and tires, so he should be good to go to the end of the race. We're at lap 27. Augsburger. Further back, it's Augusto, and it looks like Augusto is gaining on Augsburger. It is now 6 seconds, and it was 9 seconds the last time I checked it. So Augusto might still have something up his sleeve here. And let's check back at some of the slower cars. We have Dave Guild here in 11th. He is running 6 seconds behind Zabolks. Let's check on Manuel Domingo real quickly. It looks like Manuel is now actually gaining on Moric because of that pit stop, obviously. And yeah, his last lap time was a 1:11.9, so he's dealing with traffic as well. And then a little bit further back behind Dave Guild, we see Luc Groom, Patrick Le Touvet, who is hanging there with, I believe that was Augsburger, and then James Mallow, and Danny Hoekstra. Danny Hoekstra is the final running car. Javier Alvarez still in the lead, and it looks like Fabio Do Carmo is less than 3 seconds behind him, so it appears to me that Do Carmo is a little bit quicker than Alvarez. The final lap times, the last lap times do show that. At 11:22 for Do Carmo and 11:49 for Alvarez, so it seems to me like Do Carmo is gaining a little bit here. Lap 28 of 45, and it's still Alvarez in the lead. He's going to start lap 29 as he crosses the line here. There we go. And Do Carmo is running in second behind him, and yes, it does. I do believe he's gaining, and it looks like Canovas is going into the pit here, given that position, the fourth position, to Paul Ilbrink. With that move, he is getting ready to get some fuel and some tires. Most likely, obviously, you will see if he takes tires, you will see the car being jacked up a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't see the mechanics at work, but there you go, the car is being jacked up. That means he's taking tires, and he's obviously taking fuel to be able to finish the race. Quick pit stop. There we go, he's rejoining the race, and it looks like he's going to be rejoining in 8th position. Manuel Domingo, out of position 9, is also coming into the pits. And I'm fairly sure he'll be doing the exact same thing. Fuel and tires. Yep, car's being jacked up. So there we go. Fuel and tires for Manuel Domingo here in 10th position. Let's check back up here with the leader. It's Javier Alvarez. And he has not been in the pits just yet. Passing, that's Manuel Domingo. He's passing now while putting a lap on him, but Manuel will get that back as soon as the leaders will make their pit stops. So Alvarez and Do Carmo. Do Carmo now under 2 seconds behind Alvarez. He's definitely gaining on him. And it's Cedric Bill in the 3rd spot, 15 seconds behind Do Carmo. Paul Ilbrink in 4th. And it looks like Paul Ilbrink is gaining on Cedric Biel. Of course, Ilbrink has fresher tires now, and he's been out long enough for those tires to be on working temperature. Kicking up a little bit of dust there on the entry of the turn. And it looks like Paul Ilbrink is back on his regular pace with a 110.84. That looks pretty good. He's definitely gaining on Cedric Biel, but he still has a back marker in front of him, and that is Dave Gild. Coming towards the corkscrew. So Paul Ilbrink and Cedric Biel are being separated by Dave Gild here. And I don't believe that Dave has been in the pits. Yes, he has. He pitted on lap 27, making room for Ilbrink here. Good move, good sportsmanship. And the EFS series, the eFormulaSeries, has adopted the rule that the blue flag does actually mean you have to move over for the leaders if you can safely do so. So that's a little bit different from general racing. There are a lot of racing classes where the blue flag is nothing but a warning and doesn't really have any consequences if you don't listen to it. EFS has adopted the FIA rules as far as the blue flag is concerned. And it looks like Dave had a little bit of an issue here. Oh, not too bad, not too bad. So let's bring her back up here to Alvarez. Fabio Do Carmo now 1.7 seconds and gaining. It looks like in the last lap they were pretty much equal on speed, separated by 1/10 of a second. Cedric Biel is in 3rd position. Paul Ilbrink is closing in on him. The difference is now under 1 second. So those fresh tires for Ilbrink seem to be working the way they should. Coming towards the last turn here, let's ride along with Ilbrink here for a moment, closing in on Cedric Biel. This is the fight for 3rd position. Coming down the main straightaway towards the Mario Andretti hairpin. Well, and if you look at the hands of Ilbrink, he makes it look very easy. Not much corrections going on. He's so smooth in these turns, and that is exactly what makes him so fast. Ooh, there, as you say it, Every time I say something like that, he has a little issue, but he catches it beautifully. And you can see that that is what slows you down, and being smooth and not having to make those corrections, that is what makes you fast. Under the bridge here, fast left-hander, stay away from the inside sausage, up to the hill, and under the banner, hard on the brakes for the corkscrew turn here. Ilbrink using the curbs. And I don't know if you can hear it, but you can. The iRacing actually simulates the sound of the pebbles in the turns there hitting the bottom of the car. It looks like Cedric Beale's going out of the way to make his pit stop. There he goes into the pit. It is time for him to get serviced, and Alvarez is doing the exact same thing. You might want to hit the brakes when you're on the stands there. That means that Fabio Do Carmo picks up the lead, not having pitted just yet. And when he does, he will definitely lose that lead to Paul Ilbrink, because the interval is 17 seconds, and he will not be able to get serviced in that short of a period of time. You can see Paul Ilbrink there is right behind him now, 17 seconds. It's quite a bit in racing terms, but when you still have to make a pit stop, it's just simply not enough. Samuel Augsburger is now shown in fourth, and he has not pitted just yet. And it looks like everybody else has pitted pretty much down the field here, except for Gregoire Richet, and he's actually shown out of the race. So back up to our leader here in front, it's Fabio Do Carmo, having picked up the lead from Alvarez, as Alvarez took to the pits on lap 32. Currently lap 34, so we have 12 more laps to go in this race. Paul Ilbrink shown quicker than Do Carmo, about a tenth of a second quicker, so he's going to be gaining on Do Carmo anyway. And the interval is now shown as 16.6 seconds, but it's not going to be enough for Do Carmo to retain that lead when he gets back out of the pits. Samuel Augsburger now in the pit. He's in from the fourth position, and he'll lose that to Morich, and I'm fairly sure he will also lose it back to Cedric Bill. Bill passes him now, and let's see, he's going to stay ahead of the seventh place. No, he's not. Bruno Canovas has just passed him, but he is going to stay ahead of Reinaldo Augusto. Augusto, having already pitted, is shown, what is it? It's going to be about 10 seconds probably. Let's see if we can see that gap develop. It's 8, 7, it's about 8 seconds behind Augsburger. So he's not really gained anymore in the last few laps. Oh, and we're looking at a major crash here for David Gill. Let's see what happens to him. This is in the third turn. He gets too wide on the entry of the turn. That puts his left wheels in the gravel. Absolutely no grip there. Can't brake, can't slow the car down, and he drives it straight into the wall. Unfortunate for Dave Guild. And let's bring her back up here to the leader. That's Fabio Do Carmo coming at you in your screen. Paul Ilbrink behind him. The distance is now 15. That can't be Paul Ilbrink, can it? Yes, it looks like it. Yeah, that's Paul Ilbrink. That's what 15 seconds looks like on Laguna Seca. So we'll have to wait for Fabio to come into the pits and see how it plays out after that. And I'm fairly sure the order will be restored as is. There we have Fabio coming into the pits now. 35 miles an hour speed limit. It's not very fast. It's frustratingly slow when you see a man like Ilbrink blowing by there. Actually, Ilbrink is coming out of that final turn as we speak right now. So he's picking up the lead now. There we go. Fabio still in the pit. And there he goes. He's going to probably come out. It looks like he's still ahead of Alvarez. Where is Alvarez? Yeah. He's going to stay out in front of Alvarez there. And you're going to see Alvarez in your picture on the bottom there. So Do Carmo is staying in that second position, which means he has actually gained a position on Alvarez, because Alvarez was leading him before he went to the pits. So Fabio Do Carmo has run very good laps on that lighter load, while Alvarez had been in the pits, and he's gained the position on him. Well, that'll be up to Alvarez to change, I'm sure. Alvarez is now shown almost 4 seconds behind him, so he's got some catching up to do here. Paul Ilbrink re-gotten the lead after the pit stops of Do Carmo and Alvarez now, so he is almost 10 seconds clear, and he's running strong in that lead. Lap 37 of 45, so we have 9 more laps to go. And let's check back down further in the order here. We have Do Carmo in second, we have Alvarez in third, we have Lubomir Moric in fourth, Cedric Biel in fifth, and then it's Bruno Canovas in sixth, and it looks like he's about 6 seconds behind Cedric Biel. It's Augsburger in seventh, Augusto is in eighth, and he is actually gaining a little bit on Augsburger, but it's not by much, and with 5 seconds in between there, he's going to have to really go for it to make something happen before this race is over. In ninth position, we have Manuel Domingo. Manuel seems to be gaining a little bit on Augusto, but also it's not by much. Then in the 10th spot, we have Luke Room. Looks like Luke just had a little bit of an issue here. Let's see if we can find out what that was. No, I don't know. It just kind of looks like he misses a gear coming off of that turn, something like that. Or he's just, because he lost that position to Manuel Domingo. That was for position, so Manuel picks up the 9th spot from Luke Groom here. Then it's Safmari Sabolks, and he's in 11th spot currently. He has been lapped by Paul Ilbrink. It's Patrick Letouvet in 12th. It's James Mallow in 13th. And it's Danny Hoekstra in 14th position. He is still running, but obviously he's got some time to make up. He's about 30 seconds behind James Mallow. Back up here to the front, it's Paul Ilbrink, 15 seconds clear now, and what we did miss is that Alvarez picked up second position. Let's see if we can find that moment. That's even further back. Is it here? No, it's too far back. I can't find it. But Alvarez has passed Do Carmo for that second spot. He's back in second place. And it looks like Do Carmo is fairly close behind him. So I'm fairly sure something must have happened to Fabio. A couple of wheels off is easy to do. We've seen guys do it before in the corkscrew, in any other turn really. Once you get 2 wheels in that gravel trap, you're pretty much out of luck, and you need to work hard to save that car. So he must have had an issue as well. One final point where we can maybe check this, that was Cedric Biel. Cedric Biel had 2 wheels in the gravel there. That was Dave Gild's crash. No, that's too far back. So we can't find it, unfortunately, but let's bring her back here to him. That's Javier Alvarez coming at you with Fabio Do Carmo in close proximity, about 1.1 seconds behind, heading towards the corkscrew once again. And there's so much incidents happening, you can't take your eyes off of anybody, because the moment you look elsewhere, something happens. Moric is hanging on to that 4th position. He's about 13 seconds behind Do Carmo. It's Cedric Biel in 5th. Bruno Canova still in 6th, about 5.5 seconds behind Biel. Then 5.5 seconds further back, it's Samuel Augsburger. And it looks like Reinaldo Augusto is gaining on Augsburger quicker than he was before, because the distance is now under 3 seconds. So let's keep an eye on Augusto and Augsburger here, because something may be developing between these two guys. We can ride along with Augusto, and there in the distance, that's Reinaldo Augusto. And I can tell you, when you see the other driver coming nearer at you, that is extremely motivating. Extremely motivating. So I can tell you, Reinaldo Augusto is very pumped up now. He wants to catch that guy. He can't afford to make any more mistakes right now. Coming into turn one. Ooh, running a little bit wide on the second apex here. And then the right-hander towards the Firestone Bridge. Yes, he's definitely looking ahead and seeing Augsburger and thinking, I've got a goal there. I've got a purpose. I can do this. And coming at you at the bridge here, the fast left-hander that leads him up the hill towards the corkscrew. And in the distance there, you saw Augsburger disappearing. Let's check in here with Augsburger now. Coming towards the final turn. A left-hander that'll bring him right back up to the main straightaway. We're into lap 41 as we speak. We have 5 more laps to go. Paul Ilbrink still in the lead, 17 seconds clear of this man, Javier Alvarez. Then it's Fabio Do Carmo, and he seems to be right around at 1.3 seconds. I'm not really sure if he's gaining any, but the distance seems to be staying pretty much the same. Then it's Morich, 14 seconds behind Do Carmo. It's Cedric Biel, 6.5 seconds behind Morich. Bruno Canovas in 6th position. Samuel Augsburger. And it looks like Augusto is definitely gaining. It's 2.6 now. So let's keep an eye out for what Augusto can do before we finish this race. Paul Ilbrink has already started lap 42. So we have 4 more laps to go here. It looks like Ilbrink has got this in the bag. If he doesn't make any mistakes, that would hurt him. Augsburger having a little issue. Looks like he went off a little bit. I'm not sure. Oh, and that's Augusto coming out of the corkscrew here, messing it up once again. Let's see what happened. He comes at the corkscrew. He's good on the entry. And it looks like he comes off a little bit too wide, gets 2 wheels in the gravel. He locks up the brakes there to avoid running into the wall. He has to back it up, and then he regains the race. He loses a position to Manuel Domingo. Manuel Domingo picks up that 8th position from Augusto's mistake. So Augusto, unfortunately, he was working really hard to catch Samuel Augsburger, but unfortunately a little bit too hard, messed up in the corkscrew once again, and it allows Manuel Domingo to steal that 8th position from him. Let's go check on Alvarez and Do Carmo. That gap has grown a little bit now. It looks like these guys are seem to be somewhat satisfied with their positions right here. And it's Paul Ilbrink in the lead, 18 seconds clear. He looks like he's got this thing in the bag. Whoops. Ilbrink here coming at the corkscrew, and we've seen how easy it is to make a mistake. He did it himself earlier on. You can remember that. And but when he gets it right, he gets it very right. He's 19 seconds ahead now of Javier Alvarez, and Fabio Do Carmo still thinks there might be something in there. And he's got a back marker behind him, fairly sure that, that is Danny Hoekstra there, hanging with Fabio Do Carmo. That is not for position. Fabio Do Carmo is 3rd, and Danny Hoekstra is 14th. He's a lap down on the lead group. So does Fabio Do Carmo have anything left? The distance seems to be fluctuating between 1.6 and 1.9 seconds. So with 2 laps to go, I'm kind of guessing that this is not going to lead to a pass anymore unless Alvarez makes a major mistake. And I'm sure Alvarez is smart enough not to do that. We saw that Paul Ilbrink had a little bit of an issue. Let's see where that is. He gets 2 wheels in the gravel there coming out of that fast left-hander. It's not enough for him to upset the car. Shown currently 20 seconds in front of Javier Alvarez and Fabio Do Carmo. And as we follow Paul Ilbrink here, we are coming at the final turn, and he is going to take the white flag. Coming by the line here, the final lap for Paul Ilbrink. He dominated this race. He made one slight mistake that ate away about 7 seconds of his advantage, and after that he picked it back up and he never looked back. He is now 17 seconds ahead of Alvarez. So let's stay here with Paul Ilbrink here. Ooh, he's got him off track every once in a while, but it's not enough for him to upset the handling of the car, it seems. He looks to be in control on his final lap, going towards the bridge here. Let's see a wider angle of that here in that fast left-hander. He gets it right this time. Then he's going towards the corkscrew over the hump on the brakes. Left turn, right turn, going down the hill. It looks like he's got stuff under control. His advantage is not even running down all that much. He's still on it. He's coming towards the final turn here. It is Paul Ilbrink winning Laguna Seca in the eFormula Series in his first outing. He picks up the win, and there you have it. And then we're going to wait and see where Alvarez is. Alvarez is coming around to take the final turn there with Fabio Do Carmo right behind him. The distance is about 1.1. Fabio Do Carmo tried hard, but he couldn't get close enough to Alvarez. It's Alvarez picking up the second podium spot, and Fabio Do Carmo picking up the third spot. And then we're waiting for Lubomir Moric. He is coming around the final turn here now, and he's picking up that fourth position. And he passes the line right here, and then it's Cedric Biel coming off the last turn in the fifth spot. And then we're waiting for Bruno Canovas, that is coming home in sixth position, and he's got Augsburger right behind him, so Augsburger did make up some ground. Manuel Domingo is going to bring it home in the eighth spot, having taken advantage of Augusto's mistake in the corkscrew there. Augusto is bringing it home. Oh, and he needs to keep going. Oh, that wasn't for position. He brings it home in the ninth spot and parks it right there. And it looks like that is your final standings, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring up those results here for you. There we go. It's Paul Ilbrink from the Netherlands, Radicals Online Racing. He is the winner of the Laguna Seca, the second round race in the eFormula Series. Then it's Javier Alvarez in the second spot for Positive Sim Racing. Then it's Fabio Do Carmo on the final podium spot for Four Brothers Motorsports. And Lubomir Moric brings his car home in fourth for Positive Sim Racing. So Positive Sim Racing picks up some good team points here. Cedric Biel shown as a privateer. I'm not sure that that's correct. He is part of, I believe, MSX Racing. And then Bruno Canovas is in sixth position for the F1 Apps team. Samuel Augsburger, seventh. Also shown as a privateer, but he is a teammate to Cedric Biel. Then it's Manuel Domingo, teammate to the winner with Radicals Online Racing. And it looks like they're picking up some pretty good team points as well. Reinaldo Augusto, and he is teammate to Canovas. He's not a privateer. Then it's Luke Groom in 10th position, and that is your top 10 drivers for today's race. So we're going to try and find some of these guys and see if they're willing to talk to us here shortly, and hopefully we can see them coming back. There you see them, folks. They're at the start-finish line. Park the cars here. That is a little bit of a wide. That is a beautiful picture. Let's keep that on for you here, and let's see if we can find these guys. And Paul Ilbrink, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me? Paul, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Paul, this is your first race here with the eFormula Series, your first outing, and it looked like you were pretty much in control the entire race. I hate to tell you this on the air, but I saw you make one little mistake in the corkscrew there. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, I wouldn't really call it a little mistake because it was a pretty big one. But I don't know. I had like a reasonable gap at that point, and the things that kind of like happened to me, I guess, like I started to think about other things that are like totally unrelated related to the race. So yeah, I just like braked a little bit too late, so I went a bit deep in the corkscrew, and then you hit like something a little bit wrong, and you just lose the car, and like you spin just the wrong way around. That doesn't allow a quick recovery. So yeah, but luckily I had a big enough gap. I managed to even keep the lead there, and after that it was plain sailing pretty much.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, you had a pretty much a 10 or 11 second lead at the moment that happened, and it was like down to 2 or 3 when you recovered it. And indeed, it was a little tricky because if there would have been cars following closely, you would have been on the racing line, and coming out of the corkscrew, that can be a little tricky, obviously. But other than that, Paul, congratulations on your first win. Any other problems to speak of? How were your tires holding up, and how was the fuel situation?
It was pretty standard. Like tires were okay. I took a fresh hit on the pit stop, and yeah, I could just drive it home. Probably could have done it on the same tires as well the whole race, but no, everything was fine. Fuel was pretty easy to calculate up front as well. Kind of split it a little bit, like 55-45 or something, but yeah, it was all fine and under control.
It definitely looked at it from my point of view. After your pit stop, it didn't take you very long to catch up. I believe that was Moritz that you passed there as he just right as he was going into the pits, and it was just pretty much smooth sailing from there, man. It looked awesome. It looked like you had things under control. Once again, congratulations! Your first entry with the eFormula Series. You're bringing it home with a win. We're expecting big things from you.
I'll try to live up to those expectations. So I'll be back next time.
Thank you very much, Paul. Any love yous and thank yous you want to shout out? This is the time, sir.
Yeah, you guys for setting up this league and broadcasting it. Looking forward to look back at the race, and my teammate Manuel Domingo, who convinced me to team up with him for this series. And even though I missed the first round, I'm glad that I hopped in. And I want to thank the rest of my teammates at Radicals Online and our partners and sponsors: Armor Centrum, Grandfield Simulation, Track Racer, Joe Real Timing, Turn Racing, the MOATF Podcast, Six Sideways, and Pixel Dust.
Thank you very much, Paul. Once again, congratulations, and we hope to see some more of you next time.
All right, thanks.
All right, let's bring in Javier Alvarez, a second place finisher here in Laguna Seca. Javier, it looked to me like you had good pace. Then after the pit stops, you found yourself in third position. What happened?
Oh, thank you. First of all, congrats to Paul. Amazing race. Fabio, I think I have not really a good pace. My pace was worse than, of course, Paul, because Paul was in another level today. But Fabio, Lubomir, even, of course, Manu, and probably Cedric could be faster than me, but I was lucky in the qualifying session, and then I had a good exit, and I did not mistakes. But what happened after the pit stop is that I didn't feel the tires quite good. Something was wrong. I did like 1 second per lap slower, and Fabio was really fast at that time. So I tried to think in the podium in the third place, and that's what I did.
So what you're saying is that on the after the pit stop on the cold tires, you had a little bit of trouble to get the feel for the car back again, and that slowed you down a little bit. You picked it back up because I mean you got back ahead of Fabio Do Carmo probably 4 or 5 laps later. Did he make a mistake?
Yes, he did small mistakes, and here, well, it is difficult not to make mistakes. He did small mistakes, and I took the position, and then I pushed.
Yeah, obviously, yes. Well, you made it work. I mean, I always find it a little bit amusing when somebody that finishes second in a field of 19 is telling me, well, I had no speed at all. Javier, you had plenty of speed, just not as much as Paul Ilbrink, but you did. I mean, you looked pretty solid, and you looked like you were very consistent as well, except maybe for after the pit stop. But I wouldn't say you didn't have the speed.
I mean, yeah, my weapon is this, the consistency. I am 54 years old, and I can be very focused in the full race, not doing mistakes, probably lap by lap. But my fastest lap was above 1.11, and I think not only Paul, but Manuel, even Reinaldo Augusto or Lubomir had the fastest lap than me.
All right. Well, when you're second, some people say you're the first of the losers, obviously, and but despite your age, I think you're doing an amazing job. I've tried this stuff myself in this car, and I'm a little bit older than you, and I know exactly how you feel. You're being run over by guys about that are young enough to be your children. So I know how you feel, man. Hey, once again, congratulations on that second spot. Any thank yous and love yous you want to throw out there? This is the time to do it.
Okay, first of all, thank you to the organizers because this implies a lot of work. Thank you to you for the broadcast because it's something that is amazing for us. And also thank you to my team, Positives in Racing, and Lubomir because he has been really a good work. I was thinking in giving him the position because he can fight for the championship. But as far as Fabio was behind, I think I will be happy being the first of the losers. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. Great comment. All right, let's bring in Fabio Do Carmo here, our third place finisher. Let's see if I can catch him. Fabio, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. How are you, man? You brought it home in third position. It looked like you had a bit of an edge on Javier after the pit stops. I just talked to Javier, and he was talking about it took him a couple of laps to get those tires working for him again, and then so he wasn't expecting to catch you. What happened?
Yeah, actually, I gambled a little bit. I decided not to change my tires in the pits. That's why I think I was able to gain his position. My pit stop probably was faster than his. And then I just tried to continue with the worn tires. It was really hard, so I made a huge mistake in the last corner, and I had to go to the gravel trap. Had a little contact with the terriers, tire barriers, and then he overtook me. But I had to try something. It's a really tough race. It's a difficult car. The track is really difficult as well. So I think I made three huge mistakes during the race. And Javier drove a flawless race, and he deserved it. And congrats to him and Paul as well. But it's great to be finishing the podium.
Absolutely, and we congratulate you on that. That's interesting to hear, Fabio, because Javier is basically every racer that doesn't win is talking about all the mistakes he made, and he wasn't good enough, and he wasn't fast enough. You're on the podium, sir, so you must be doing something right. And despite that mistake, and as you said, you gamble sometimes to make something happen, and sometimes you luck out, and sometimes you make it work. So that I guess that's the story of your race. Other than that, it looked to me like the track temperature was very high. Did that play? Was that giving you problems as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I was practicing for the official series, and the time of the server is a lot earlier than this. It's a lot colder weather and track temperature as well, so it's easier to drive the car on those conditions. And here it's kind of a surprise how much the car feels loose, and you have to drive really carefully, especially in corner exits. It's really hard, I think, and that's probably worn out the tires a bit more than I was expecting as well. So yeah, it played a really tough situation for me.
Okay, I see, man, and yeah, the eFormula series doesn't like to make it easy for you because no fast repairs, no none of that stuff. So you're on your own here.
Sure, but that's cool. That's cool. That's what's great about the series.
Awesome. All right, Fabio. Once again, congratulations on your third place finish. Anybody you want to thank or tell them you love them? This is the time to do it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I would like to thank my wife for taking care of my kids while I race here up here. Just tell her I love her deeply, and tell to my kids that I love them as well. Julia, Sofia, Dad loves you, and to Fernanda, my wife, thank you so much, and I love you so much. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Fabio. And once again, congratulations, sir. We'll see you next time. All right,
See ya.
that concludes the interviews with the top three drivers here, and I'm kind of looking around if I can still find anybody else because I was kind of hoping to talk to Manuel Domingo, last week's winner or last time's winner, I should say, but it looks like he is gone, and the only one I can find is Danny Hoekstra. So I'm going to bring Danny up here real quick. Danny, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Danny, we just heard from the top three drivers, and I was kind of looking if I would if I could find anybody else. You're the only one left here. Everybody else is packing up their stuff to go to the next one. What happened? You looked like you qualified somewhere in the middle of the pack, and then after the first lap, while I was paying attention to what was happening up front, you were gone.
Yeah, I had some pit exit cones in my front wing, and that doesn't help the car.
Evidently, so you had to go back into the pit to get them removed, or what did you do?
Yeah, well, the car was very unmanageable in the whole first lap, so I tried to get out of the way so that anybody else could move on. And then I went into pit lane, and then they were gone. So I thought, well, let's just make it a drive-through so that I don't lose so much time. But yeah, when I got back out, I immediately felt the understeer, so the car was still unmanageable. So I had to get back in for the second time. I did a pit stop, but of course it was too early to make it my last pit stop, so I didn't have enough fuel. So, but then the car was quite good again. I got into the rhythm. I had some good lap times, I think, and yeah, actually had a very good race. But yeah, the only problem was in this case the cones that costed me the whole race.
Okay, I got you. All right, Danny. Thanks for explaining that to us. The next race is going to be 2 weeks from today. We're going to be going to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada, which is probably a little bit less of a problematic track than this one. It was very hot here today. Track temperatures were very high. We heard Fabio and Javier tell us about that, that it was hurting their tires. So hopefully next time in at Gilles Villeneuve, it'll be a little bit cooler for the guys, and we're looking forward already to the competition picking up for race number 3 in the eFormula series. And to close this thing up, let's bring out the official results here once more for you. It is Paul Ilbrink that takes the win here on his first outing for the eFormula series. Javier Alvarez is second, and Fabio Del Carmo is your third place finisher. That is your podium finishers here in Laguna Seca. As said, next time, 2 weeks from today, we're going to the to Montreal, Canada, at the Gilles Villeneuve track for the third round of the eFormula series. We thank you very much for watching today, for tuning in, and we hope to see you then. Oh, hi. What's your name?
My name is Marsha.
Hi, Marcia. I almost erased you. I was gonna draw a car.
I love cars.
You do? But you're a...
A girl? Whoever made the rule that girls can't like cars?
Well, I don't know.
I want to be a racing driver.
A racing driver? Well, we can make that happen.
Blonde Bullet. A comic book about a young woman trying to get started in racing. Now available on Amazon.com. Get your copy today.